You know the exact feeling. The deadline for a huge project is breathing down your neck, yet you find yourself staring at your phone at 3 in the morning. You told yourself you needed a 5-minute break, and that break somehow turned into 3 hours. This behavior is a biological act of self-sabotage, a strategy your brain uses to prioritize immediate safety over your goals. This chart shows how your brain constructs its reality. The flat horizontal line represents your internal baseline, how safe and competent your brain expects you to be. The jagged line is the messy reality of the external world. When reality moves away from your expectations, it tears open a vertical gap called a prediction error. To your primitive brain, that gap registers as a lethal danger. It signals that your internal map is wrong, triggering a threat response from the amygdala, the region responsible for your fight or flight reactions. When the alarm sounds, you experience a dual hardware failure. The amygdala overrides your rational line to take control of the wheel. At the same time, the brain's brake pedal, a region called the right inferior frontal gyrus, or RIFG, fails to stop the impulse. For those who struggle with this, the RIFG feels like it's covered in a thick layer of sponge. You have to press down with much more force to get the brakes to actually engage. Because procrastination is a physiological hardware hijack, willpower is the wrong tool for the job. Instead, you have to deploy a manual override using a pen and a notebook. The first step is cognitive diffusion. This is a technique used to separate your identity from your emotions, effectively moving panic out of the driver's seat. When you feel that wave of anxiety hit, open your notebook. Physically draw or name the exact sensation you are experiencing right now. Keeping thoughts trapped in your head makes you the emotion. The second you put ink on paper, you become an external observer of that feeling. This tiny physical distance is what allows the rational brain to retake the wheel from the amygdala. You are now back in control, but your physiological brakes are still unresponsive. You need a way to start moving without relying on a weak brake pedal. If you are a perfectionist paralyzed by the gap between your high standards and a messy reality, use the bad draft protocol. Your instruction is to deliberately write the absolute worst, most embarrassing garbage imaginable for 20 minutes. By making bad the goal, you trick your amygdala into shutting off the alarm because failure is no longer possible. If you are someone who falls victim to environmental distractions, pivot to the WOOP method. Define your wish, visualize the outcome, identify the obstacle, and create a plan. The key is writing down a specific, honest obstacle and preloading an if-then script. For example, if I walk through the door, then I immediately put my phone in a drawer. This allows your brain to run the code on autopilot. Finally, if you experience a sudden spike of heat that tells you to run away or check your phone, use urge surfing. Use your pen to log the physical intensity of the urge out of 10. Wait 2 minutes and check in again. These physiological urges are like waves. They build and peak, but they always crash back to zero within about 20 minutes. None of these methods require raw discipline. They are strategic bypasses that trick your brain's threat response to generate immediate momentum. These fixes handle the immediate crisis, but for lasting change, we have to close the baseline gap so the alarm doesn't ring at all. You can use your notebook as a scientific ledger to gather accurate external data and disprove your brain's catastrophic predictions. Try a behavioral experiment. Share a project that is only 80% finished with a colleague. You are teaching your primitive brain that in progress does not result in ridicule. Next, use Socratic questioning to put your inner critic on trial. Force your brain to acknowledge the past wins it normally tries to ignore. Finally, practice reattribution. Instead of viewing a mistake as a character flaw, write it down as a neutral data point you can learn from. Self-sabotage is not a permanent identity. Every time you use a pen to track an urge or reframe a failure, you prove to your biological hardware that the world is safe. You don't need a different personality to stop destroying your success. You just need to pick up a pen and take back the wheel.